We told you about a report earlier this year from the Center for Countering Digital Hate. It found 12 people were responsible for 2/3 of the anti-vaccine content spread on social media platforms. Some of those dozen are doctors. Victoria Knight with our partners at Kaiser Health News took a closer look, and she joins us from Washington, D.C. Victoria, so great to have you here. Who are these doctors spreading COVID misinformation, and how common of an issue is this across the U.S.?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. So these doctors, what we know about them is that, first of all of them have active medical licenses. So even though they're spreading misinformation on social media, they've been doing it for most of the pandemic. Medical boards have taken no action against them yet, so they can still practice medicine. We also know that these doctors for the most part, they are not infectious disease specialists. So they specialize in some other medical area, and yet they still are presenting themselves as experts on the COVID pandemic. So that's a real issue. As for how common the issue is, we don't know for sure, but I did ask all 50 state medical boards and DC how many complaints they had received against doctors for spreading COVID misinfo. A lot wouldn't share that information with me because of confidentiality laws, but of the ones that did, it actually seemed to be occurring quite a bit. For example, in Kansas, when the week that I asked, they had received 6 complaints in that week about doctors spreading COVID misinfo. So it's definitely occurring across the country. We just aren't sure how much.
Yeah. When you said that, and also when I was reading the article yesterday, my eyes popped out of my head, because these are people that we obviously trust. They've had extensive training. Medical boards are struggling to discipline doctors who spread fake COVID information. Why are they struggling?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I said, yeah, they haven't taken any action against these doctors, and we're not for sure. When I talked to the medical boards, they told us, well, it's possible that we are investigating these doctors right now, but we can't tell you. And that's because they keep the whole process private until they find wrongdoing. So the public doesn't know until wrongdoing has been found whether these doctors are actually being investigated. Medical ethics experts that I talked to also told me that boards in general are pretty slow and weak. They don't like to take people's medical licenses away because people spend a lot of money and time becoming a doctor. And for the most part, they also spend their time on other issues where they will discipline doctors who are committing felonies, mistreating patients. So they're focused their time on that, and misinformation might not be a top priority for these medical boards to be investigating.
So let's take a step back. I mean, how does COVID misinformation impact the nation's fight against the coronavirus?
Yes, misinformation absolutely affects the fight against COVID-19. First of all, doctors are really trusted figures in American society. Public opinion polls show us that doctors are among the most trusted. So when they're spreading information that is not accurate about COVID, and people take that and use that information to behave in a certain way, that's really problematic. And we also know that it does absolutely affect people's behaviors. A poll this summer showed that 50% of people who didn't get vaccinated they cited a conspiracy theory as the reason why they were not getting vaccinated, such as the vaccine altering their DNA or affecting their fertility, both things which are absolutely not true. So we know that it actively affects how people behave.
Kaiser Health News reporter Victoria Knight, thank you so much for joining us and for your reporting. And to our viewers, definitely check out the article on Kaiser Health News' website. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.